Professor Pradan Rajan. He is a very dear friend of us. He has been a colleague in the center for 20 years or longer. He is also an economist, by the way.
Sure.
Professor Pradan Rajan.
They included the Gujarati version of the Hindu Swaraj, the original one. But more importantly, there was this inclusion of the notes, which was an invaluable addition to the reading of the Hindu Swaraj. In that way, they expanded the text. It is often said the classical text should be reviewed and should be interpreted afresh to understand the contemporary times also. That way, the book turned out to be a very important work. I used to visit CPS those days. MD Srinivas and Bajaj used to discuss about the Hindu Swaraj, the ideas contained in them, what could be the origin of those ideas, the formative years, the formative forces. And they were contemplating to bring out the book of this period, South African period, and see how it contributed in a way to crystallize Gandhiji's ideas in Hindu Swaraj. And I always would plead with them that Hindu Swaraj guided Gandhiji the subsequent period also. That should be also be documented in a not very extensive fashion to make it authentic, but to make the work more complete. When I used to listen to MD Srinivas and Bajaj, I developed an interest in two major themes. One, Gandhiji was trying to recreate and rejuvenate the public life. Not only in South Africa, more so in India. The Indian public life was either non-existent or it was in total shambles. So unless you reconstruct the public life, it is not possible to establish dharma in this country. Dharma in private life is important, but dharma in public life is far more important. So this theme of public life, how Gandhiji contributed towards reconstruction of that, was one of the abiding interests for me, I think for everybody, and I think we should keep exploring Gandhiji and other contemporary thinkers on this issue. The second thing which used to interest me a lot, of course which continues, is how Gandhiji was trying to mobilize the civilizational resources to regain Swaraj for India. And these two themes are extraordinarily important, and I think CPS and the larger circle of friends should continue to pursue these two ideas and try to document them not only in philosophical terms, but in terms of details of various periods. I will make one or two observations on both the themes. On public life, when I used to visit CPS and listen to their discussions, I was attending a series of lectures on one of the important Vaishnava text of the 14th century, Sri Vachana Bhushanam. There is a very interesting topic. What is the role of mother? See, Upanishad will talk about the Brahman. But the moment you talk about the Jagat also, then the mother comes into the picture. Her role becomes very important. And she accepts this issue with the Paramatma, that our children are suffering. But why are you so indifferent? The Lord could not answer. He said, I have created this law of karma. I cannot myself violate that. What to do? Then she asked, what happens to your karuna, the compassion? Like that, the dialogue goes on between the importance of the divine grace and compassion and the karma in which all the Chaitanas are caught in this samsara. So her role is to bring the Jivatma and the Paramatma together in union. And technically, they use a word, Purushakaram, and she is referred to as Purushakara Bhute. The rough English translation of that would be that she mediates between the Paramatman and the Jivatman and tries to bring them together. Mediation is the word for Purushakaram. She is known as Purushakara Bhute. So I used to listen to this in the morning lectures. In the afternoon, when I am there in CPS, they were looking at many of the documents of this period. In one of the important letters written by Gandhiji to his son, he defines the public life. And that is a very core idea for him. And he takes up this issue, what is the essence of public life? There in this letter, he writes, mediation is the essence of public life. You see the parallel. The mediation in the spiritual world and the mediation which is the essence of public life, an important principle for reconstructing the fractured public life. When I was, they were discussing about all these things. Gandhiji was negotiating with the state. Now, gradually, the state was trying to occupy the entire public space. The British and earlier the Mughal, they saw to it that they would take over the public space to subjugate India. That way, they were able to keep the public outside the system, outside the public space. And if you look at this legacy of modern state and the theory of modern state, that it seeks to occupy the entire public space. So Gandhiji negotiates with the state to open up more and more room in the public domain for the society to come in, for the society to come into the mainstream. Later on, when he takes up this Harijan issue, the idea is to bring the Harijans into the public mainstream, to bring the Harijans into the social mainstream. That is how he went about reconstructing the public life systematically, taking all the philosophies keeping in his mind, but trying to work it out in practical action. One or two words on civilizational issue. The West, the British, they were very clear about their mission. The mission was to colonize India and the rest of the world. And they saw a moral justification for that. Their understanding was the West represents a superior civilization. And this superior civilization, the mission is to civilize countries like India, China, and Asia and all that. So the colonizing mission was essentially a civilizing mission for them. And it is a moral mission. And because of that, they justified the use of power to enforce this moral society, moral values on Eastern societies. So this conjunction of their own understanding of what constitutes morality and ethics and the use of power for enforcing it, there are some of the important ingredients of the Western civilization. Gandhiji was one person. I think Jawaharlal Nehru understood it in negative way. Ambedkar understood it in his own way. But other than these 2 or 3, I have my own understanding is limited, that no other important leader of the national movement understood that the British represented a civilizational challenge. And we have to respond on very similar terms. So Gandhiji referred to the British Raj as the brute force, very strong language. In Hind Swaraj, he referred to Western civilization as evil. These are not very ordinary words. I think we should come with various versions of our understanding of Western civilization, why it is evil, why Gandhiji considered it as an evil. One clue comes out in the book and earlier writings, that the Western civilization keeps religion out of the public domain. It keeps religion out of the social domain, and that way renders society irreligious. Not only state, but the entire society. It should not be a religious society. It should be a secular, whatever it is. So this he would consider as an evil mission of the Western civilization. Of course, he had some difference of opinion with Christianity and Islam regarding conversion, but it did not deter him from retaining a very high respect for Christianity and Islam as well. I think he had some distinction between the religious traditions of the West and the so-called modern civilization of the West. And he described Western civilization as evil. I think he might not have elaborated it very extensively, but Nehru took it up as his mission in the post-independence period to bring in Western civilization, the ethos, the philosophies, etc. Even Indian Constitution incorporates the basic aspects of Judeo-Christian philosophy of the West. And that is to become the new Shastra today. Now, Gandhiji understood what is the nature of this onslaught. He understood the conquest was the conquest of the Indian mind. And how did he respond? If the challenge was one of civilization, how did he respond? Earlier, Bajaj and others have referred to it, Banwari has written about it. For example, the Yama and Niyama, the basic moral and ethical grounding, you find it in Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Exactly the Yama and Niyama are incorporated in the same order in Jaina Dharma also, to some extent in the Buddha Dharma also. So they constitute the Bhagavata Dharma. That Gandhiji was trying to internalize in his personal life the Yama and Niyama of the earlier tradition, but he was also trying to incorporate it in the public life. The Ahimsa, the non-violent political order. Satyagraha, what it is said of Ram, I'm coming to a close. Satya Parakrama is the description of Rama in Ramayana. That he used Satya, the truth, as a tool to confront the opponent. So Gandhiji forged Satya, the idea of Satya, as a political instrument. It is Brahmacharya, Swadhyaya, Tapasya, fasting. So everything he was trying to incorporate in his personal life. He would ask this question: what is the use of spirituality if we can't practice in politics? What is the use of Shastras if we can't practice it in personal life? So, in response to this Sanatani's conference, he said, Sanatani's passed a resolution that entry of religions into the temple, you may not get approval in Shastras. But if the law is passed, it is agreeable to us. With enormous pain in his heart, Gandhiji writes, yes, they are willing to accept that everybody is equal before law, but they are not willing to accept that everybody is equal before the divine. What a tragedy. So in every fashion, Gandhiji was trying to incorporate the basic values that earlier speakers talked about, the civilizational values, not only in the private life, but forge it as an instrument to shape the political life also. His understanding of what constitutes Swaraj is much, much larger than what freedom or independence could convey. I think CPS, Center for Policy Studies, should pursue many of the important aspects brought out by Gandhiji. He understood the philosophy, but never spoke about it openly, but he was trying to put the entire understanding of religion and philosophy into practice. When Radhakrishnan asked him, you spell out the philosophy, he said, you are the philosopher. You should tell me what is the philosophy I'm trying to follow. But the point is, he was trying to understand the entire philosophy in terms of practical initiative and effort. I think this also matters a lot. I'm very, very happy that CPS has brought about this book, and their effort should go on. One, they should write the post-Hind Swaraj history of India during the Gandhiji period in the perspective and the light of Hind Swaraj, and the larger work on Indian civilization and Western civilization and on the reconstruction of public life, which are very dear to my heart. So naturally, I would like to make a request to our friends and the larger colleagues who come on this platform to reflect more and more on these issues. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Varadarajan. We will try, if God willing, we will do the later part of Gandhi if it is allowed to us. अच्छा मुकुंदन यही है अच्छा मुकुंदन take only 5 minutes मुकुंदन we have just simply run out of time.
First I'll go to Hind Swaraj where he says doctors induce us to indulge and we have become deprived of self-control. In these circumstances we are unfit to serve the country. To study European medicine is to deepen our slavery. So for him health is one of discipline and self-control, and through that you are able to serve the country better. Second, I will go to the next topic where he has a vision for a free India. In an important speech in London in 1931, Gandhiji outlined his vision for an independent India, where he declared that the old village schoolmaster and the village doctor would play a central role in providing education and health for all. I quote, "We give this medical aid not through the very expensive methods that the Western doctors teach us, but we revive our own ancient treatments. Every village once had its own medical man. This was a vision for the future independent India." Then, already by then, in 1918 and 1920, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, the Indian National Congress, in its annual sessions of 19 and 20, passed resolutions calling for the establishment of schools, colleges, and hospitals for instruction and treatment in accordance with the Indian system. So this is under his leadership, this was done. Okay. Now on the future of Ayurveda, what does he say? Because the implication here is that we should bring in our own traditional method like Ayurveda into the mainstream to serve our people better. On the future of Ayurveda, Gandhiji, after laying the foundation for the Ashtanga Ayurveda Vidyalaya in Kolkata in 1925, in a letter following that he says to Vaidhiraj, Kaviraj, Gannath Sen, I think, I hope, and I quote, "I hope that the college of which I laid the foundation will contribute to the alleviation of real suffering and make discoveries and researches in Ayurveda that will enable the poorest in the land to know and use the simple indigenous drugs and teach people to learn the laws of preventing diseases rather than curing them." For him, this is of utmost importance, and Ayurveda has, as you probably know, a section on Ritucharya and Dinacharya, which are disciplines one undertakes, one food and regimen in order to keep good health. And then finally, if we had taken the path indicated by Mahatma Gandhi, we would have had an important place for Ayurveda in our medical system, which would have served our people far better than the modern Western system that we have. And it would be a system which is Swadeshi, self-reliant, and closer to the idiom of, very close to the idiom of our people. We have seen this example in the present pandemic, where Ayurvedic people have been curing hundreds, if not thousands, of COVID patients very successfully with hardly no mortality. Even our small clinic we have here in Chennai, more than 300 COVID patients have been treated of all kinds of comorbidities, complications, and high-risk cases with no mortality. So, if you had relied on Ayurveda and taken Gandhiji more seriously, you would have had a self-reliant system which doesn't involve too many complicated technologies and very expensive treatments as it is happening now, and this is being demonstrated now. So this is the inspiration we all ought to get from. I would urge all my colleagues also to read Gandhiji seriously and continue their work. Thank you very much. And I also want to congratulate my good friends Bajaj and MD Srinivas for bringing out this brilliant work. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Govindan. Thank you very much. And now, गोविंदाचार्य जी, व्याख्यान का समय तो हम आपको नहीं दे रहे हैं, पर आशीर्वाद जरूर दीजिए आप।
इतनी अच्छी कृति बन पड़ी है, इसके लिए लेखक द्वय और उनके सारे ही सहयोगियों को हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। जो देश के सामने गांधी जी के संदर्भ में बातें आनी चाहिए, वो बहुत इलैबोरेट ढंग से सामने आई है, इसके लिए वो बधाई के पात्र हैं। कल परम पूजनीय सरसंघ चालक जी ने अपनी बात कहते हुए कहा कि धर्माचरण और धर्मियों के प्रति सुरक्षा, ये दो बातों का उल्लेख किया। तो धर्माचरण की बात भी कही गई और साथ में धर्मियों की सुरक्षा की बात भी कही गई। इसके लिए जरूरी है धर्मबोध और शौर्यबोध। कभी इन सारे पहलुओं के बारे में और अधिक विस्तार से चर्चा करना और एक और पुस्तक शौर्यबोध के संदर्भ में आना समीचीन रहेगा। इतना कहकर मैं अपनी बात पूरी करता हूं। धन्यवाद।
देखिए, जितेंद्र बजाज जी ने जो पुस्तक बनाई है उसको ख्याल में रख कर के कुछ बातें मेरे ध्यान में आई, और वो ये आई है कि जाने अनजाने एक होड़ सी लगी है कि महात्मा गांधी को कैसे पुराना और बासी कर दिया जाए। और ये जो है वो जब जब ऐसा अवसर आता है तो महात्मा गांधी अपने आप में नए होकर के निकलते हैं। मैं ये समझता हूँ कि 1908 ये पहला साल था जब महात्मा गांधी को नए रूप में जोसेफ जे डोक ने प्रस्तुत किया। वो ब्रिटिश पादरी था और महात्मा गांधी की उसने पहली जीवनी लिखी। 1923 में रोमारोला ने महात्मा गांधी की जीवनी लिखी, तब वो महात्मा गांधी से नहीं मिले थे। और 1950-60 में प्यारेलाल ने जो पूर्णाहुति लिखी है, अगर गांधी को जानना हो तो पूर्णाहुति पढ़िए। मैंने हाल में पूर्णाहुति देखा और दरअसल उसके 2 खंड तो पहले देखा था, वो 4 खंडों की पुस्तक अभी मैंने देखी है। मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि इनके बाद गांधी को बताने और समझाने वाली जो पुस्तक 2-3 साल पहले आई, वो बनवारी जी की पुस्तक है, भारत का स्वराज्य और महात्मा गांधी। उससे जो गांधी निकलते हैं उसी की अगली कड़ी में जितेंद्र बजाज जी की पुस्तक है। और इस तरह से महात्मा गांधी 1908 से लेकर के 2020 तक ये 5वीं बार है जब महात्मा गांधी नए रूप में सामने आ रहे हैं। महात्मा गांधी में क्या खोजने जाते हैं आप, इसी से निर्धारित होता है कि आप उनमें नया कुछ पा रहे हैं या पुराना कर रहे हैं। वैसे महात्मा गांधी में स्वयं ये अपार क्षमता है कि वे हर समय अपना नवीनीकरण कर लेते हैं। लेकिन महात्मा गांधी के नाम पर जो संस्थाएं बनी हैं, समाधियां बनी हैं, वो गांधी को विचारों से दूर और उनके नाम पर बनी हुई संस्थाएं उन्हें बासी करने में लगी हैं। और वे सब सारी संस्थाएं भौतिकवादी हैं। और भौतिकवादी जो भी होता है वो चीज़ों को नया करता है, विचारों को जड़ करता है। और ये जो जितेंद्र बजाज जी की पुस्तक है, उसका संदर्भ आप सबको मैं बताना चाहता हूं, और मेरा ख्याल कि आप सब लोगों को याद भी होगा, डॉक्टर कृष्ण गोपाल जी को भी याद होना चाहिए कि 1992 जब 6 दिसंबर 1992 हो गया तो सेकुलरवादियों ने छोटी छोटी कुछ किताबें निकाली गांधी के वांग्मय से निकाल करके और सबसे, और हिंदू धर्म को समझाने वाली पुस्तकें निकाली। अब उसमें हिंदू धर्म था या नहीं था, लेकिन सेकुलरवादियों ने हिंदू धर्म की उन पुस्तकों को आरएसएस पर हमला करने के लिए निकाला। और उसकी कई पुस्तकें मेरे पास अभी भी हैं। अब जो गांधी विचार को समझने का प्रयास करते हैं वो और कर रहे हैं, मैं उनको मानता हूं कि वे आध्यात्मिक लोग हैं, और ऐसे लोग ही गांधी को नया कर रहे हैं और स्वयं भी नया हो रहे हैं। जितेंद्र बजाज उनमें से एक हैं। तीसरे प्रकार के वे लोग हैं जो गांधी को अपना उपकरण बनाते हैं और जिनका मैंने आपको उदाहरण दिया। बजाज जी और एमडी श्रीनिवास ने जो इस पुस्तक निकाली है वो उसमें गांधी का आज के लिए नया संदेश है, गांधी के शब्दों में, कर्मों की गवाही में। और वैसे ही इस पुस्तक में आपको हर पन्ने पर प्रामाणिक तथ्य मिल रहे हैं जो दरअसल गांधी वाङ्मय जो 100 खंड है या 102 खंड है, उन खंडों को पढ़ने का किसको मौका मिलता है। कुछ उदाहरण निकालने होते हैं तो उन खंडों को हम देखते हैं, जैसे आजकल मैं कर रहा हूँ। गांधी की तुलना इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि 15, 20, 25 साल पहले कनॉट प्लेस में एक सुपर मार्केट होता था। सुपर मार्केट की सीढ़ियाँ चढ़ करके जब आप जाते थे तो वहाँ क्या खोजते थे इससे निर्भर करता था, क्योंकि वहाँ सब कुछ था। उसी तरह से बाजारीकरण के दौर में बड़े बड़े माल बने हैं। माल में आप जाएंगे तो आप जूता खरीदने जा रहे हैं या कुछ और खरीदने जा रहे हैं, ये आप पर निर्भर करता है। महात्मा गांधी भी आज बाजारीकरण के दौर में एक बड़े माल की तरह हैं। आप उनमें से क्या खोजना चाहते हैं ये आप पर निर्भर करता है, और इसलिए गांधी में तो सब कुछ है। अक्टूबर 2019 में मुझे एरिक एच एरिक्सन की पुस्तक मिली। ये पुस्तक गांधी जन्म शताब्दी में मृदुला साराभाई या साराभाई के परिवार ने एरिक एच एरिक्सन को बुलाया था। आप जानते हैं संभवतः कि फ्रायड के बाद जो सबसे बड़ा साइकोलॉजी एनालिसिस्ट हुआ है वो एरिक्सन हुआ है। और उस एरिक्सन ने एक छोटी सी किताब बनाई, गांधीज ट्रुथ। गांधीज ट्रुथ मेरे पास समय कम है और डॉक्टर साहब को जाना है, इसलिए मैं ज़्यादा उसका जिक्र नहीं करूँगा, लेकिन वो किताब मुझे 2019 में मिली और संयोग से जब एम्स में जा रहा था तो उस किताब को साथ लेता गया। ऑपरेशन के बाद वो किताब मेरे कमरे में थी, मैं उसको पढ़ रहा था, और जो इस डॉक्टर ने मेरा ऑपरेशन किया वो डॉक्टर एक दिन आया, देखा कि मैं कुछ पढ़ रहा हूँ और फिर मेरे पास आया। उसने उस किताब को देखा और कहा कि आप गांधी को पढ़ रहे हैं, आप गांधीवादी हैं। पता चला कि वो डॉक्टर गांधी का घोर विरोधी है, और उसने गांधी के बारे में जितनी बातें सुनाई हमको उसकी बातों में सच्चाई भी थी, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा, क्योंकि गांधी एक जगह गांधी विफल हो जाते हैं जब वो अपना उत्तराधिकारी चुनते हैं। और उस डॉक्टर का भी यही कहना था कि आप किस गांधी को पढ़ना चाहते हैं, उसको जिसने देश को बंटवाया, जिसने नेहरू को प्रधानमंत्री बनवाया। अब लेकिन मैं जिस किताब का जिक्र कर रहा हूँ वो किताब ऐसी है जो दरअसल गांधी के सत्य को जानने की कोशिश में लिखी गई है। और इसलिए ये इस तरह की किताबें जो जितेंद्र बजाज जी ने कोशिश की है, और कोशिश नहीं की है, मैं इसको कहूँगा बौद्धिक पराक्रम किया है। और गांधी के संदर्भ में नई पीढ़ी को अपना, मेरा ख्याल है कि राजनीतिक बोध बढ़ाने में इस पुस्तक की बड़ी भूमिका होगी। मैं ये मानता हूँ कि हमारे बीच में, हम में राजनीतिक बोध की बड़ी कमी है, और उस राजनीतिक बोध को उस राजनीतिक बोध को इन किताबों से मदद मिलेगी, खास करके जितेंद्र बजाज जी की किताब से। और इसका जो एक वाक्य और मैं कहूँगा कि हिंदू स्वराज और देशभक्ति हिंदू धर्म पर आधारित है, इसलिए महात्मा गांधी की वैश्विक अपील बनी। ये जितेंद्र बजाज जी की पुस्तक का सार है। यही एक वाक्य है जो दरअसल इस पुस्तक में विस्तार पा रहा है। मैं इसको फिर से दोहराता हूँ कि हिंदू स्वराज और देशभक्ति हिंदू धर्म पर आधारित थी, इसलिए महात्मा गांधी की वैश्विक अपील बनी। चाहे जोसेफ जोर्ज डेक या रोमारोला या बाद में एरिक्सन, ये सब लोग जो गांधी से जुड़े और आज भी गांधी से जो जुड़ना चाहते हैं, वो इसलिए जुड़ना चाहते हैं क्योंकि गांधी की बुनियाद हिंदू धर्म में थी। और ये 2020, 2021 उस गांधी को जानने का अवसर दे रहा है, और ये इसके माध्यम बने हैं जितेंद्र बजाज जी। मैं इनको बधाई देता हूं और अपनी बात यहाँ समाप्त करता हूं।